Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Mitch Simpkins, and this is Wins for Widows, where you get practical guidance from the mouth of professionals who are united in helping you get back on your feet after experiencing the loss of a loved one. Together, we'll uncover the rooted question that you might be asking yourself, what now, and what should I do next? Today, we've stretched clear across the pond, and we have found Karen Sutton. And if you know anything about this community, her name you probably know. And I'm excited to have her on the podcast today. Karen is UK's first widow coach and the master intuitive psychology coach. And she supports women around the world to navigate grief and rebuild their lives so they can love again after loss. So Karen is a widow herself. Her husband, Simon, died in 2016, and she chose to turn her pain into purpose, creating a compassionate space for widows to find hope, healing, and connection. She has group programs, membership communities, retreats, live events, and the Widow podcast, where she's gotten 346,000 downloads. How many podcasts total, Karen, so far?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think there's about 120 podcast
Is there
episodes.
really?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kudos to you. Kudos to you. That is no small task.
No, it's taken a lot, but it's fun. It's fun. I
Yes,
like the podcast.
it is fun. So her goal really is to help women thrive and guide them through rediscovering peace, purpose, and joy after loss.
Thank
You
you.
so enjoyed our pre-calls, and I know our audience is going to enjoy you today and the learning and the depth of knowledge and experience. If they haven't listened to your podcast, they need to. Real quick on that. Quick commercial on your podcast. What do you do, Karen, and how does it help them?
Okay, so the Widow podcast is just such an incredible resource, and I know people find me quite early on in their loss, and they literally binge watch. I mean, there's a real dedication to the podcast. They binge watch all the episodes, tend to go back over them again. There's so many conversations on there, tips, tools, hope. I'm all about hope. I think, when you lose your person in life, you just want to know that somehow you're going to find a way to be able to breathe again and to not feel this enormous devastating pain that you're in. You're in it and you think, how am I ever going to get out of this? Am I ever going to be okay again? And really, I want to just normalize what people are feeling, hold space for that, and validate what they're going through, because it's so alien to us. And I just want to make them feel seen and heard and understood, and give them that hope that there is light at the end of a very dark tunnel.
And you do a great job of it. I've listened to several of your podcasts. I've seen the conversation sometimes go a little away from that.
Yeah.
I've seen you reel it back and you say, no,
Yeah.
no, we're not going there. This is about hope. And
Yeah.
you're hopeful, and that resonates, and it's really an amazing podcast. If you haven't seen it, go watch it and binge it. Binge it on a Friday night. And again, your audience is really others with loss, right? You bring a couple other professionals in occasionally, I think you said.
Yeah,
But it's not a
occasionally.
standard practice. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. It's normally widows and widowers.
Well, let's learn from you. So if we could, tell us a little about your own personal journey into widowhood and how that experience really has inspired the work that you do today as a widow coach. And if you feel at all comfortable, maybe bring in some of the financial piece, because that's
Yeah.
part of the role of this as well, is to help them with their bridge the gap in finances.
Yeah, the finances. Wow. Okay. So I guess going back to 2016, September, my husband, Simon, went out on a bike ride one Sunday morning, as he often did, and he dropped down dead. He had a cardiac arrest and died. So he went off in the morning and didn't ever come home. I was 39, he was 43, and our two girls were 9 and 5. So very unexpected, very sudden, very traumatic, but very, very quickly, Mitch, I realized that, or I just knew I had this instinctive desire to figure out how to live. Okay. And I had no idea how I was going to do this, but I remember saying to Mum and my sister, I do not want this to define mine and the girls' lives in a negative way for the rest of our lives. Like, how do we navigate this? And I was looking for support. I was looking for somebody to guide me, to support me, to teach me, to educate me. And I found a lot of in-person, and online peer support, which was brilliant. And it helped, but I needed more. I kind of wanted the meat on the bones. I don't mean this to sound insensitive in any way, but I didn't want to just sit in spaces where we were all kind of just saying how utterly, can I swear? Like how
You could bleep it out if it's really bad. We'll have to bleep
shit.
your mouth.
It's,
No, you can say that word. That's
thank
that's farm
you.
words, Karen. That's farm words. My
That's
wife
okay.
grew up
That's
on a
okay.
farm. You can say that.
I knew how shit it was, and I, as much as you need that, you do need that. You need to be able to sit in a space where you can speak your truth and other people get it. But then I was like, and what now? Like, what do I do with all of this? How do I navigate this? And to your point, there's so many. When you lose a life partner, every single corner of your universe is impacted. There is not one part of your life that remains the same or normal, because it changes you on such a profound level. And as we are having this conversation here and now, finances is a huge part of that, and it's very different for everyone. Some people are left in dire straits. Suddenly the breadwinner has gone. And what do you do? There's no money. Not everyone has things like life insurance and medical insurance, all that kind of stuff.
Karen, were you the CFO or was Simon? Who was the
Simon.
family CFO? He was.
Oh my God, yeah.
So how much involvement had you had in it before? Were you like, kind of involved?
I was probably a bit blasé about it. He understood it. He knew it. He was a very driven, ambitious, intelligent man. I was working in the NHS. I was a midwife, working part-time, bringing up the girls. A couple of times I met up with him and the financial advisor that we had, that, Simon had sort of got to come on board with us. Half the time that was just to sign a form and sign my life away. I don't even know what I was signing.
You do? Oh, you do have a wife. Oh, there she is. And she can sign. That's great. Yeah, let me tell you about stocks and bonds. I'm out. I don't want anything to do with that. Was that you?
That's me. And
Okay.
I'd go to these meetings with Simon and our financial advisor, and they'd sit there and have these conversations. And honestly, Mitch, I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I felt too stupid and tired to even kind of say, can you explain that in a language that I understand? So I didn't. And they just said, are you happy? And I was like, yeah. They're like, sign this form. I could have been signing anything.
And your advisor was good, if I remember right,
Oh,
right? He involved you and he was really
amazing.
helpful as you passed through.
Yeah.
How did he retain you? How did he keep you? Like, what was the key to your continuing after Simon died and not finding a good person?
I think because I knew Simon trusted him.
Oh, interesting.
That meant a lot to me. Simon didn't trust many people in life, and
Okay.
he really trusted Chris, our
Okay.
financial advisor. And Chris, I don't mean to sound horrible when I say this, Mitch, and obviously I'm not referring to you, of course, but
No, I
sometimes
won't
I
take it
find
totally personal.
people like financial advisors, lawyers, solicitors, you call them attorneys, I think, over in the US.
That's
But
what we call them. Sure.
people that do these really sort of intelligent jobs where there's like a whole other language involved in it.
And they want to impress you. We want to impress you, Karen.
Yeah. But to me, I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm too scared to tell you I've no idea because I feel stupid.
Okay.
And what I loved about Chris was, from the very beginning, he was really gentle and patient with me. And as you know, when you are in deep, raw grief, your brain doesn't work. It has been likened to a traumatic brain injury. There's been research done that profound loss has such an impact on us mentally, physically. We call it widow's brain, grief brain. But you can't think straight. You can't think. You don't know anything. You don't understand anything, and trying to make sense of things. And he would come along and he'd explain things to me. I'd be like, I still don't get it. And he would draw things in really simple. And I think I said this to you last time. I'd say, look, pretend I'm 5. And tell me like you would tell a 5-year-old, and draw a lovely little pretty picture so that I can really understand. And he did. And then we'd meet again 2 weeks later, and I'd completely forgotten everything that and I'd be like, I'm really sorry, but can you just go over that again? Because I can't remember what you said.
So I've
And
seen that look and I've heard that comment, Karen.
yes, and actually, what I did in the end, one of my friend's husbands, I spoke to him a little bit about what I was trying to do and some of the choices that I had to make. And I remember he bought me a book and a pen, a notebook, and he said, write down everything in here, everything, like names, dates, job titles, what they say, phone numbers, because you forget what you've done, you forget who you've
Oh,
spoken
that's
to,
a
when you
great
spoke to them,
suggestion.
what they said, and
Love
then
that.
you've got this chronologically ordered notebook
Love it.
that you can kind of go back to and say, yeah, okay, we spoke on this day at this time, and this is what was said,
Great.
and that
Great
really
suggestion.
helped.
Thank you.
Really helped.
Thank you, Karen. I love that. I'm gonna use that. Is that okay? I'll give you full credit.
Yeah.
I'll give you full credit. In the book, I'll say compliments of Karen.
Well, I'd like to say it was my idea, but it wasn't. It was my friend Stuart. So really, we
Okay.
probably
Well, you give
should
send
credit
me your
him.
name and I'll what was it? What was the name?
Stuart, my friend
Okay.
Stuart.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'll give the kudos there, but
Yeah.
no, I love that. That's a great thought. Yeah, because it's real. Like I
It's
see
real.
it and it's
It's
real
real.
and it's
And
really
and you
you have to
find
be
that you
patient
come
with.
away from a lot of these meetings with lots of different scraps of paper that you, of course, with the intention of filing them away in proper places. And I honestly, Mitch, I cannot tell you that I remember after about 6 months, this pile of paperwork from
Mhm.
financial advisors, solicitors, all the admin. But this book just had things in a safe space for me that I could go to rather than ferreting through all this paperwork and thinking, I don't know what I need and I've lost it and it's gone. And yeah, so I'd say,
I hear that too. I still have that piece of paper and I haven't done anything with it yet, but the book can be. So you mentioned life admin. That was a piece of our prep conversation. So in your coaching and your other programs, what are some of the very first practical or emotional steps that you encourage widows to take during those early weeks? Kind of around that life admin. How do you get your feet on the ground and even begin to move?
well, it's really hard. And I think everyone's different in how they work. So again, just making notes of things, but also just asking people. I think it's asking people for help a lot of the time. I think we've become such an independent society, haven't we? That we've lost the sense of community within family and friends and even in neighborhoods. We all live quite isolated lives in our families, I think. Not everybody, but many people don't live close to family anymore. A lot of people don't have a lot of friends nearby. Some people don't even know their neighbours. But I say, what you have got, lean on people. Absolutely, find somebody. And what I did actually, so that Stuart that recommended the book to me, he was my friend's husband, or still is my friend's husband. And I kind of just wanted that male kind of standpoint. I'd lost my husband and I needed a man to speak to. I had my dad as well, and I spoke to him a
Awesome.
lot.
That's
And
awesome.
I was very blessed. But I think it really is asking for help, finding people you can trust to support you, but also not putting yourself under pressure. That it can feel like you absolutely have to have everything sorted as soon as possible. And that's not a very easy thing, is it? Because these things take so long that the admin side of things takes
Yep.
months,
Yep.
years sometimes.
Yep.
And again, it's just be patient. Don't expect too much of yourself too soon. Grieving. And I think a lot of us, when we enter the grieving world, we think we can continue to work in a way that we used to work in when our person was alive. We think we can function at the same level and do the job, do all the chores around the house, take on our partner's chores, and navigate all of this life stuff and the admin that comes with it. And you can't. And I think you quickly learn actually, wow, this is hard. And I kind of just like to say to people, breathe, take a
Right.
breath. Don't try and do too much too soon. Take your time and reach out and ask for support.
I love that. I know Kathleen Reel. You know Kathleen Reel. I think you said that you are associated, affiliated with her, know her well.
You did mention.
I guess this may be, so she writes a ton of great things and a great book and is a great resource. Been on the podcast and she talks about now, soon, and later. What do you got to do now? What do you need to do soon? what can you do later, and writing those on a piece of paper so that you can begin to digest and eat this elephant one bite at a time. The other thing I'll say, and you mentioned this, there's a book by Kristen Neff called Self-Compassion. One of the best books I have ever read. Uh, this year has had an amazing influence on my personal life because I'm hard on myself. Like, I'm a perfectionist, and when
Yeah.
I don't do everything I can do and everything I think I can do, like, I beat myself up pretty good. I'm really good at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the self-compassion book was really helpful to kinda help me do that. If no one else is gonna give me compassion, at least I will for myself.
Yeah.
And especially for widows, right? They're alone in a lot of cases. And some cases, like to me, I love you mentioned professionals. There's a lot of professionals around. To me, having a family member be on your team with the professionals is even more effective. However, sometimes it's hard because you don't want your family member to know your finances. If you're worth a lot of money, you don't want your family to know, hey, I have, $100 million, right? And so that makes you even more alone and you're not able to tap into that. And so self-compassion is so critical. Any thoughts around that, Karen?
I think it is one of the foundational sort of building blocks in life, but most definitely in widowhood and grief. To your point, we are so hard on ourselves. Sort of internal narrative is usually so unkind and unfair. We put so much pressure on ourselves, and it's a noisy place up here. And what I love to really help people do is to learn how to be their own best friend. When you notice how you speak to yourself, just thinking, would you speak to somebody that you loved like that? No, you wouldn't. And if somebody
But
could
you can
hear
speak to
you,
yourself that way, right? Why not?
yeah, because nobody can hear it. So you kind of get away with it. But it just
Interesting.
it feels so horrible, and you haven't got your person there anymore, and you haven't got your person there to kind of give you that support, to be your cheerleader, that person that kind of goes, you've got this, you can do this, I believe in you, you're amazing. And you might sit there and go, no, I'm not, no, I'm not, but still somebody saying it. We've got to learn to be our own cheerleader, our own best friend, and bring in that self-compassion piece, not expect too much of ourselves, not want it to all be perfect, and to just give ourselves some grace. It's not easy, and we have to learn. It's a relearning widowhood. It's sort of unlearning everything you thought you knew and relearning a whole different way of thinking and being.
But I don't know that we know we even do it to ourselves because if
No,
we've
we
done it
don't.
so long, it's coming into the subconscious, and the only way we realize it is by the emotion or the feeling that we have. That's what I've learned is
Yeah.
like when I start to feel something, I'm like, something's going on here. What's going on? And I have to stop and be like, okay, let me rewind my last 2 days or whatever.
Yeah.
What's going on? Oh, that happened. And I said, what?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's get in there. And you've got to root it out, right? You got to root it, which to me says you've got to have a good counselor,
Yeah.
psychiatrist,
Somebody
somebody to
that
go
can,
to and help
yeah.
get in your head and see that,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you say that you have a little experience in that, huh?
Yeah, you have to, and I do. I always gently challenge my clients. They say things, they do things, and I will challenge it because, 95% of our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions are driven by our subconscious. So they are not in the light of our awareness. It's like this automatic pilot that runs the system. And we keep thinking things, saying things, doing things that don't actually work for us, but because we're not aware of them, because it's this automatic pilot, only 5% of what we think and do is in our awareness. So, what I really love to do is to help people shine more of a light, create that awareness piece, and actually challenge it. You don't have to believe everything that you think. You don't have to do everything that you've always done. You can change it. The brain is amazing. Neuroplasticity, we can rewire the neurons in our brain and create a different reality within us, which is always reflected back outside of us. So, it takes time, but it's powerful if we can notice what we're doing and we can
Is the
change it.
show Inside Out, is that fairly popular, had been fairly popular in the UK?
Inside Out. Oh, yes, with the little characters in the
Little
mind.
people that are in the
Yes.
mind, like, to
Yeah.
me, that's the representation of those little people in your mind controlling you.
Yes,
and
exactly.
you've gotta understand who they are, and I think
All
that's
of the
such a
parts. Yes.
such a
Yes.
cool piece.
Yeah.
So we kinda alluded to this, so often in this case of loss, there's a movement from we to me, and so what are the mindset shifts or the personal growth steps that really help somebody move there, and what have you seen transform as your clients have made this journey? What advice do you have there? We've touched on it, but I'm
Yeah.
really
It
curious to learn from
it's
you.
it's really hard to change from a we to a me. You know, you're so used to playing your role, it's part of your identity. You work as a team a lot of the time and you have plans. And then to suddenly be thrown into a world where it's just you, it's just me. You know, who am I? What do I want? Where am I heading? And what do I do by myself? And that's really scary. There's a lot of uncertainty in there. You know, the brain doesn't like uncertainty. It likes familiarity. It likes what it knows. So there's a lot of anxiety and fear. But I think there's a duality to grief. And it is utterly devastating, heartbreaking, soul destroying. Feels like you know, have been shattered into a million pieces and you don't quite know how you're going to put those back. And there's this space of discovery, of growth, of awareness, of deep understanding, of really seeing the world through different eyes. All of a sudden, things, as much as they feel scary, they almost become a bit clearer as well because it sifts out what really isn't that important to you anymore. And it takes a long time. You know, that raw grief, I always say, is the first 6 months. The early days I refer to as the first 2 years. And
Mm,
it's really hard to even come to terms with the fact, you know, physically, mentally, socially, all of it. It takes a long time for the heart, the brain, the body to regulate. It affects our nervous system, everything. Do you know? And
mm,
and to learn how to
mm,
feel safe in the world again takes a long time. When you get to that point of kind of, okay, you start to learn how to regulate yourself, you start to feel a bit safer in the world again. The grief hasn't gone, but it's just softened a little bit and you feel like you can come up for air. You're able to reflect and think about, what have I learned? What have I discovered about myself actually in this process that I didn't know before? Because in order to find a way through these devastating losses, you dig deep. You know, if you want to find a way to survive, you dig deep and you discover things about yourself that you never knew before. And sometimes, you know, there are times in my journey where I was like, oh my God, I'm amazing. Like I'm like some kind of Wonder Woman. Like I learned how to tow the caravan and I took the kids on holiday for the first time and I cooked a proper meal with vegetables and everything. Do you know, it's like, and you kind of go, I'm invincible. Like there's no stopping me. And then of course you crash and burn and you're on your knees and sobbing on the floor again. And it's just this journey. But there is a really beautiful space within this grief that you learn so much about yourself and this self-discovery and this learning about you, who you are, just you. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's horrible. It's also quite beautiful. And you watch these women come in and they flourish. They discover these things. They go traveling around the world. They discover they've got you know, a talent for being creative and painting or something. They set up a business. They write a book. I don't know, but they give back
a
to
new
their
person
community.
emerges.
Yes, and it's a really beautiful thing. It comes out of something very dark and horrible, and that doesn't make it okay. But it's that duality of the loss and the living and the rebirth, I suppose. And I think we get to choose what that looks like. I do think we have a lot of choice in that.
And you've seen that in your own life, and you've seen that in a lot of people's lives, a lot of women's
Yeah,
lives,
I do.
and widowers, I would imagine too, you've probably seen.
Less with the
I
widower.
know it's not your focus, but I know you've worked in that space,
I
and so
have, and
you've
you know,
seen that pa
I love the widowers, and there are more women in my world. It's just kind of worked out that way. That wasn't my intention, but I've seen people go on. to do the most incredible things alongside their grief and their love for their person. And it's really, really wonderful to see.
What a great space you're in to watch that evolve. What a great space I'm in to
Yeah.
watch that evolve. I love what I do because I get these little snippets of people across their lives.
Yeah.
From some that I've had since they were, 50 to some that are 70, 80, right? And I get to sit back and watch them every 6 months, every 3 months, their world evolve, and I get to be a little
Part of
person that
that.
watches that and sees that, and I've seen that in some of my widowed clients. I've seen that emergence. I've seen that light
I
come
love
back
that.
in, and it's
Yeah.
so cool. It's so
It's so
fun.
cool.
Maybe they don't realize it. I imagine there is some sense of realization there, but from an outsider's, it's so cool, and I try to make sure, like, I say, "Hey, look, you're not seeing this, maybe, but I want you to know you're a different person than you were 3 months ago, 6
And you
months ago."
know, you'd have played a huge part in that, you are a great guy, you've got a great energy, and you're clearly good at what you do, and I have to say, Chris, who helped me navigate a lot of my admin, my finances, my will, all of that, he played a huge part in my healing, in my rebuilding of life, because I trusted him and he guided me well, and that was a gift. It was priceless, and he probably would say, no, I didn't really do a lot, but God, you don't understand actually how needed and how special that is when you are going through something so awful, to have somebody that you trust, that guides you well. It's that one less thing, not that you don't have to worry about, but you just know is in safe hands, and that's so important, so important.
So good at giving those kudos. They are. Not to bring it back to me, but as an advisor, that's why I love this space. Not the
Yeah.
only reason, there's a lot of reasons, but that's rewarding. I'd rather do that than get paid
Oh, that's
because
lovely.
that's the pay. That's like,
Yeah.
"Okay, I'm making a difference. Thank
Yeah.
you for recognizing and for acknowledging that."
Yeah.
But widows and women in general are really good at that, and that's really fun. That's really rewarding as a professional, I
Yeah,
will
so
say.
it's nice. It's not it's do you know, it's just nice to be appreciated, isn't it, I
It
think,
is, that's
in
it.
in
Just,
life.
"Hey, thanks, you're doing a great
Yeah,
job." I
yeah,
appreciate that.
exactly.
Karen, you're amazing. I knew you'd be amazing. You are amazing. It's so fun to learn from you. You've taught me a lot of things, and you've been a good guide. I love that you focus on the reality of loss
Yeah,
and what it means to people personally.
yeah.
And all the rest of it, because you gotta take care of that before you take all care of all the rest of it, right? All the
You
rest of
have
it is just fluff on the outside. This core person is the piece that's got to be taken care of for
yeah,
all the rest of it to even matter, right? I mean, if the core isn't happy, what good does it matter how much money you have?
it
It
doesn't.
means nothing.
You have got to look after you and nurture yourself and love yourself, and I know that might sound a little bit like, "Ugh, I hated it when I first heard those terms," but you have to. If you want to find a way through this, you can't beat yourself up and criticize and judge your way through it. You won't find a way, but if you can find a place of compassion and love and trust within, you will find a way. Honestly,
Yep,
if you keep criticizing, judging, and putting pressure on yourself, you're gonna go down. You're gonna go down. It's just
yep.
how it is.
Give yourself a break,
Yep,
especially at a very, very, very hard time. Give yourself a break and work
exactly.
through it. Pick at it away.
Ask for help.
Karen, you're amazing. Anything else? Any last parting wisdom? You've shared a lot. Anything else you want to make sure that we know?
Bless you. There's so much, Mitch. There's so much, but do you know? I think I just want you to know that wherever you are right now, whatever you're feeling, whatever you're going through, whatever's happening for you, it is not permanent. Nothing is permanent. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Do what you can. You don't have to have the whole path laid out. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know everything. Just know what that one next step is. Trust it, trust yourself, and just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and and you will find a way. You will find a way.
You're awesome, Karen. Thank you. I'm going to
Thank
share
you.
all your stuff because you're doing some great work. So thank you for all the hard work you're doing. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Mitch.